What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to talk to you about the Aventon Soltera, a commuter e-bike for $1,200. And what I'm going to do to keep it simple is I'm going to tell you about the 5 things you need to know about this bike. Hopefully this will help you make a decision whether this bike is right for you. All right, the number one thing you need to know about this is it's defined by the mantra, less is more. They kept it simple, and what they hoped was to arrive at an elegant bike that works and is functional. So what's an example? Most important, you probably noticed, it has no gears. It's kind of crazy, a commuter e-bike with no gears. And you know that we love to hate these gears because we need them, but then they're kind of cumbersome, we're always shifting and whatnot. They said no gears. And I'll tell you if it works out in a second. The second thing is a small motor, 350 watts, small battery, 360 watt hours, so it hardly looks like an e-bike, right? And third, simple brakes, you know, the old simple caliper brakes, okay? The second thing you need to know is, I'm sure you're curious, does it work? You know, does no gears on a bike really work for most people? So when I test rode this, I went around the neighborhood, a couple miles, and it worked. You know, I was averaging about 15, 16 miles an hour, not breathing too hard on level ground, and I did not have the motor on. And the reason is, this is a bike first and foremost. You know, you can pedal it without the motor on. It's efficient, it's quiet, it's smooth. So, given that, when I turned the motor on, man, it was easy to accelerate, easy to go around. I can go a lot farther.
Now we're going to turn on the motor.
It was easier to start up from 0 to about 20 miles an hour. And really, that's what you need gears for. You know, that's why you're shifting all the time. You know, because you're at a stoplight, you need to go. You don't want it too heavy. As you accelerate, you keep changing gears. So imagine doing that.
Hello.
You know, every time you start and stop, changing gears. But with this, what their solution is, you have a motor. You have 350 watts, which is double the average human power. So you don't really need, you can start from a heavy gear. You'll be fine, and you'll accelerate a lot faster. In fact, you can even hit the throttle to start up. You know, if you think hitting the pedal with a heavy gear in the beginning is a little too hard for you. Next thing is rolling hills. You know, that's where you need gears. You need to go slower, but you know, get more leverage. But with a motor, you're fine. You know, if it's a San Francisco type hill like this, steepest street in the world, it's pretty tough. But most hills, not a problem. Brakes are fine. Motor and range are good. You know, about a 50-mile range, you know, if you're helping out quite a bit. 20 if you don't want to help out at all. The next thing you need to know about this bike is it's defined what it doesn't have. You know, it doesn't have the fat tires, the shock, the fenders and the racks. And whatnot, the big motor, big battery, you know, all those things are cool, but they arrive at a bike that's usually 60 pounds. I've had bikes here that are 80 pounds, you know, fat-tired e-bikes, and you can't even lift them. You know, it's cool when they're rolling, but when you're in traffic or you're around the garage, oh man, it's tough. So what you have here is just a simple bike. It doesn't have all that stuff, and it's 41 pounds. 41 pounds means it's easy to move around in your garage, load up in your car, but more importantly, you can help out. You can ride without the motor, and it's more nimble in traffic, in tight spaces. It's a really agile machine. So the number 4 thing you need to know about this bike, it has 2 very unique features that are kind of mind-blowing for the money, you know, for the $1,200. The first one is integrated lights. So right here, from your mode switch, you have a switch here for lights. Boom. Headlight and taillight. And these are special stuff because they're powered by your battery, so they're always charged, and it's a good headlight. I don't know if you could see that, but the beam is not just a round flashlight, you know. It's a specifically designed traffic headlight, so it has a wide beam, but it has a cutoff, so you're not blinding the drivers in front of you. So it's actually a lot safer, and the drivers will appreciate it. You have integrated lights here They're in the frame, believe it or not, and they're bright, like 8 LEDs on each side, so clearly visible from each side. It's not being covered by the tire, which is common. And a cool feature is it's integrated into the brakes. So they're actually brake lights as well. So it helps bike traffic behind you, car traffic behind you, less chance of getting hit from behind. Crazy, huh? The next thing I wanted to allude to is it has a display, a full color display. That's very cool. So many screens. It has mapping. You adjust the settings of this bike. You can also do ride logging from here. It's just kind of mind-blowing. I would say from Garmin, this probably be a $300 option, but it's included with the bike. Also has a phone app that makes it easy to use, has a whole ecosystem. You could connect with other riders. You can see how many, what your carbon footprint is and all that. It's really made for the very expensive Aventon bikes, but they just kind of throw it in here on this $1,200 bike. Crazy. And the fifth thing you need to know about this bike is it's simple, but the details are dialed. Simple and inexpensive, but it's not a shortcut bike. So let me start from back to rear. What you're getting nice tires, 35C tires that have a Presta valve. So that's the bike standard instead of Schrader. It has a nice tread, good for pavement and a little bit of gravel. It has a reflective stripe on the side, very visible at night, when a car headlight shines on it. And it has a kickstand that's very functional. The kickstand is beefy, stable, easy. It stays up and stays down when you need it, and it's out of the way of this pedal. The traditional place for a kickstand is here, but it's in the way of pedals, so you kind of get in a locked situation, especially when you're backing up the bike. So none of that. And then moving on, the brakes are just simple, rim brakes. They work, easy to adjust. Not the best in wet weather, but they really work for stopping power. The saddle is cool, a Celereal saddle. Nice, generous foam underneath this thing, which is really cool because you're not going to be in Lycra bike shorts, padded bike shorts in this. You're going to be in street clothes, so you need a saddle that's real, and it's not huge. It's not like this, where they're comfortable for sitting down, but they're really not comfortable when you're pedaling after half an hour. All right, frame is nice. Couple paint jobs on the paint. One of the best paint schemes that I've seen in this price range. You have a battery here that's hidden. You can take it out with a key if you need. The pedals are metal, which is cool because you could basically live with these pedals forever. Has a little pins on it. At this price point, a lot of bikes have plastic pedals that are just brake and just throw away pedals, get you started. But this one could be permanent pedals. It has a very heavy gear, by the way. You can pedal up to 30 miles an hour on this thing. Moving on forward, we have a throttle. Yeah, you can now start from 0 miles an hour with this throttle. The throttle, this is a Class 2 e-bike, by the way. So up to 20 miles an hour, and it can have a throttle. If you want, you can make it Class 1 as well. But all you need to do is press this thing, and this thing will go. So makes it easier to start up. The grip is nice. Lock on inside, so it's not in the way of your palm here. And it has a little ergo shape. The computer is center mounted. The light is center mounted. So super cool. Has narrow bars, which is kind of, you might not be used to, but it's really actually good for commuting. And for a bike that's light, it works out. Guess what? It's hidden in here. You hardly see it, but when you need it, and that's super cool. Other traffic, pedestrians really appreciate it when you don't zoom by them at 20 miles an hour, but really when you let them know that you're coming. Most of them, they don't want to get in your way, but they just need to know. Don't surprise them. And you do this with a stealthy bell like this one. So there you go. The 5 things you need to know. It's not perfect. The gear is pretty heavy. So if you live in a very hilly area, you might want a lighter gear. And you could do that. You could have a smaller chainring or a bigger rear cog. So there's some tuning available here, but that you'll need a mechanic for that. The battery is not big, It's probably good for 50 miles if you're helping out a lot, 20 miles if you don't want to help out at all. So that might not be enough for a lot of people, for some people, I mean. But bottom line, you have a $1,200 package that when I go do my errands, I use this rather than my mountain bikes, my road bikes, or my big commuter e-bikes. It's just a simple machine. I can carry it. You know, it's nimble. It's fun. My daughter loves it. Kind of the perfect college bike. You know, kind of the perfect city college bike for someone who needs some kind of transportation, but kind of wants to have fun and look cool at the same time. So there you go. Thanks a ton.